Welcome back. You're still watching Morning at NTV with me, Sandra Twinobudio. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. Follow us on all our social media platforms, NTV Uganda on Facebook and NTV Uganda on Twitter. And do respond to Rido. Anyway, this morning we are speaking smartphones and everything that has to do with it. We've seen that the increased use of smartphones by a big percentage of the general population has led to the development of a number of music mobile apps. Now, these enable users to download different music over the internet. Popular among these, I could mention Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Google Play Music, Tidal, Pandora, among others. Now, this morning we are going to get into a deeper understanding with Andrew Kaggwa, who by the way, has a very interesting hairstyle this morning. A very good morning and welcome to Morning at NTV.
Good morning.
Yes. When we talk about mobile apps, what is the history? I mean, when someone that is watching us today, I'm sure they've used maybe a mobile music app, but what is that one thing we do not know, the history of these apps? How do they start?
I think one of the things people do not know is that using the internet to listen to music has been around since 1997.
Yes.
But of course, those were like, I could say, pilot projects. Many of them did not really work. And around 1999, there were a number of university students that decided to start a website. It was called Napster. And they used to share music, like peer-to-peer ways of sharing music. And it was very illegal because they were not paying for this music, so they were sued by very many people. And then at the end of it all, Napster had to close down. But then, I think in 2003, Apple Music, I think at that time it was called Apple Store or something, they came up and they were adapting the format of Napster, but this time, someone was paying something to get the money, to get the music. I think it was less than $1 to just get one song, to download one song. Other websites kept coming up, the illegal ones, but what they did was to make sure they have a lot of bugs.
Yes.
So instead of infecting your laptop with a lot of bugs when you're downloading an illegal song, it was better to spend that less than $1 to get a song on Apple. And then Pandora, I think, came up later. Pandora was more defined. They would use your taste to suggest music. Like, they would look at the song you just downloaded and they're like, okay, if he's interested in Katy Perry, probably they would be interested in Taylor Swift. So they suggest Taylor Swift. And that worked. In a very short time, they had about, I think in less than a year, they had about 200 million users.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
Well, now speaking about the telecom companies that have also come up with different music apps. Briefly about that, how did it all start? And do you see it actually competing with the like, say, Apple Music?
I think many of the streaming sites that have been coming to Uganda have failed to take off. And one of the reasons they failed to take off is, one, you join a platform, say you're joining Spotify.
Yes.
Even if it's not just music, even if you're looking at Netflix, they will tell you you're going to be paying by
Visa.
By Visa.
Yeah.
And then you and I know, okay, like there's someone I usually tell you and I know, and they're like, no, I don't know. But we know very many Ugandans are not banked. Yeah. So many Ugandans are not using banks to keep their money, and the whole Visa payment system cannot work. It's so hard for a Ugandan to join Netflix if they are not banking. So it becomes so hard. That becomes the very first hurdle. But besides that, our internet is not the best, and besides it not being the best, it's very expensive. But when you look at mobile companies coming on board, the very first thing they take care of...
Do you think it's a good strategy for them to do that?
Actually,
is it a good move to bring more people to use it?
It is a very good move, considering the fact that Uganda is not a very visa economy. When you look at countries like South Africa, where a very big number of people are using visas, it's been so easy for these platforms to penetrate. When it comes to Uganda, where people are mostly using mobile money, like, you need a different way of engaging them, and then probably when they are paying using mobile money, you can find ways of paying those distributors using Visa, since you're the telecom. So it's a very good thing for telecom companies to actually come on board, because do we have a telecom company that doesn't have a mobile exchange, a money exchange service around? It's like many of them have them, and it becomes easier for them.
Now, just speaking your personal, view, when you're choosing a mobile music app, what are the key things you're looking for exactly? What is that, the few key aspects that come to mind before you choose to say, I'm going to get to this?
One thing I would say is that I'm on 3 different streaming sites,
Yes.
and I'm paying for 2 of them.
Using Visa?
Yes, using Visa. One of the things I think I looked out for, just to see how rich, I first look for their catalog and I see how rich it is. I think Spotify and Apple have the richest catalogs. I think each of them has millions of songs. There are other smaller sites or streaming platforms that do not have a very rich catalog. Say, okay, I will not mention, but there is a site where I was, for instance, looking for Maurice Kiria's music.
Yes.
And they didn't have it. There are sites you go to and you will not find a lot of Ugandan music, because maybe they didn't pick an interest in advertising here or interesting artists here. So most of the times I look at the catalog and then I look at the price, and I will also look at how I can pay for it. I know Tidal, since Tidal had a partnership with one of the telecom companies here, you can actually pay for them using mobile money. Something you might not be able to do with Spotify or Apple Music. So most of the times I look at those things, how flexible it might be when I'm paying. Or
you keep on mentioning catalog and the different sites not having enough music here and there. If you're to compare the music apps developed locally with the rest of maybe Apple Music, Spotify, how are we performing vis-a-vis the others? How
are we just looking at music apps, or even the other apps of, because I know we have people that have developed VODs, video on demand. So those ones, you can watch TVs, you can watch local movies on them. So are we looking at all those?
Yes, we're looking at it both ways.
Yeah.
Do you think we're heading to a place where we'll be competing favorably, where a person will have access to Spotify or Apple Music and still say, no, I'll choose the local content?
When it comes to music, it's easier. Like we do not have many, but I know Sautis had been developed by Swangs Avenue. And when I was talking to Julius, he told me one of the many problems they faced when they were setting up was the fact that when they were getting music, when they were trying to get music from these different distributors, the distributors wanted a cut, like on any song someone downloads or listens to. And they did not have a problem with it. The only problem is that the way we pay, most of our people are going to pay using mobile money, and that was an economy many of these people did not really understand. So for music, many of our streaming sites have failed to take off because of issues that come up with when it comes to payment, like how are your people going to pay, and how will you be paying, say, Apple Music for some music you're getting from them? How will you be paying, say, Warner Music if you're getting some music from them? Like, when it comes to payment, there is always a problem, and because of that, many of our streaming sites for music do not take off. But when it comes to VOD, that's video on demand, that works the same way like Netflix, Hulu, and Showmax. For those, we have many that have come up, but they are not performing well. And the reason they're not performing well is because many of them do not have exclusive content. For instance, I will tell you, Netflix will wake up one day and they will announce, yeah, we have acquired rights to do a show on this Marvel character. And they will be the only ones with it. When it comes to Ugandan VODs, you'll find an application that probably carries NTV. And someone is thinking, okay, they have NTV, but I can find NTV at home. And NTV has their own app. So there are 2 places someone can actually find NTV without going to the app. They might carry some Ugandan films, but probably those films are downtown. Like someone will go downtown and get
Just
them
get a
for less.
DVD.
And probably they will even get them when they have jingle on them, and that's
That
what
better,
someone
eh?
wants. Yeah, so
Well, are there those other apps that are free and that you could mention? And if they're there, how do they take care of the expenses, you know, to carry on if
in Uganda,
yes,
the ones that are free.
in Uganda, do we have any that are free?
I know one that's free. Okay, it's from a telecom company. It's from Airtel. Their Airtel TV is free, but it's free when you're using Airtel data.
So, meaning at the end of the day, it's not free. You have to
At
buy
the end of the
data.
day, it's not really free because you have to use their data. But I do not really know how well it's performing, though I do not feel the vibe. Personally, on my side, I could say I do not feel it. And again, the reason I do not feel it is the same reason I've just told you, is that everything probably they are offering, I can find it in other places without actually going to the app. Yet, when you look at, because YouTube can also be considered a streaming site.
Yes.
When you look at YouTube, YouTube is catching on because it has a lot of things that might not be exclusive, but are actually unique. Like, you find something on YouTube you've not seen anywhere. So you find people going back to YouTube all the time because it's a sea of content. You'll find things you will not find anywhere else, something that many of the streaming sites, especially the ones we have in this country.
Well, now with all the so many music mobile apps, I feel that the music storage devices will soon be extinct. What is your view on that?
I think music storage, I think it's already extinct.
Extinct.
I mean, one of the reasons
because anyway, okay, carry on.
One of the reasons I decided to subscribe to a streaming site or streaming sites was because I hated having to download music and then having to delete it later. Like, you find yourself with this very huge catalog of music you've been downloading over the years, and then probably you cannot receive messages anymore because your storage is done, and then you're still thinking, okay, what do I delete and what do I save?
Yeah.
So when I started streaming, I kind of saved myself from all that. It's like, even when I do not have data, I just have to go and check the app because there is music that I download in the app. It doesn't come to the phone, it downloads to the app, and with that music you will listen to it at any time you want to listen to it. So one, you can listen to music and you do not have to fill your phone. So if you ask, I think storing music is almost extinct.
Okay, and maybe before we conclude this conversation this morning, I am just curious to see some of your responses to our reader this morning. Remember, we asked you, what is that one thing that cannot be shared until it has been taken? What is it? We're waiting for your responses on our social media platforms. You can use NTV Uganda on Facebook and NTV Uganda, or on Twitter. We'll be right there to see that. And maybe also, if there is that one person that is celebrating their birthdays today, it is the weekend. We're getting into the weekend. The mood is right there. We just ask you to send us their names and we can send them our birthday shout outs. Now, just to conclude this conversation, let us dive into, we've seen young people being very, like, really they get to the thinking, and there's probably that one person that is coming up with an idea of how do I come up with a mobile music app and actually make money off it. From your own perspective, what are some of those things that you think a developer, for instance, can think of in order to succeed?
Right now, if someone is trying to do an app, they should know that the world is audiovisual.
Yeah.
I don't think there are people that are interested in an app that's only going to give them music. I know there are apps right now that can give you a live concert, like you can stream a concert. Some have videos, like they can premiere videos exclusively, but one of the things they have to look out for is exclusivity, even when it comes to audio. For instance, I know Spotify contacted Barack Obama and the wife, Michelle, to do different podcasts.
Yeah.
These days, since music can be found on any site you go to, since many sites have the same kind of music, you will get exclusivity, or you will have something special when you get a podcast, for instance. If I'm to come to Uganda, I might think about which person do people love listening to that might probably deserve a podcast. Or you might even just look at the radio stations and you're like, what if we have this famous radio station and they have this famous radio show, and we do a spin-off of that radio show to do, for example, when it comes to Dembe, they have that show Talk and Talk. If you're doing a streaming site and you're thinking out of the box, you might decide to create Talk and Talk Extra, which is more of a spin-off of the famous one. And there are people that will come to your site or to your platform specifically to listen to this because they know they will not find it anywhere else. So exclusivity in these things is always key.
In Uganda, can that work? Is that possible?
In Uganda, it can work if you played your cards right, and playing your cards right might all come down to choosing the right people that
because you see, for instance, if you're saying that exclusive music, there are those artists that are just upcoming and would like their music out there. So this we've seen that happen, that it makes them take their music to TV stations for free because they want free air. And here you are as a young person creating content for people that want their music to be there, and you're trying to keep it exclusive. How do you play around that?
Truth is, I wouldn't advise a fresh artist to be exclusive.
Yes.
And most of these sites will not go to a fresh artist for exclusive release because they are fresh. They need to be out there. They need to be all over the place.
What if their music is so good? And maybe it's the only way to get attention to them.
It is so hard to, you can judge music, say you can think music is so good, but then it always comes down to the listener. You can be exclusive with the fresh artists if you've done a lot of marketing for them.
Yeah.
Because when you market a lot, you create demand. If you've marketed them well, you can be exclusive. But if you didn't put in with the marketing, I would usually advise those artists to mass release, to release to anyone so that they can be listened to. But exclusivity is very key. And not just for music. There is a lot of audio content people can listen to. It could be poetry. Like I see, when it comes to Uganda, we've been very virgin with content. For instance, music is the most consumed form of art in Uganda. But there is poetry that can be recorded as audio. Yeah. There is music from movies that can be recorded as audio. There are soundtracks. There are many things that can be done with audio that I feel like we've not really harnessed enough. Even when you look at the feature stories from the news, some of them can be turned into audio, and we've not looked at all these avenues. So if someone is looking at a streaming site in Uganda, the very first thing they have to know is that music is all over the place. Music will be pirated, but there are those other things that you can be exclusive with.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew Kaggwa, for joining us on Morning at NTV this Friday. But just in a second, does the future of music, local music mobile apps look bright? Just in a second.
Jeez, that's very hard to answer with our internet rates.
Okay, great. That's an answer in itself. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning at NTV. You've been with us all the way from 6:30. We asked you today to give us the response to our riddle. What was that one thing that cannot be shared until it is taken? What is it? Sadly, we are running out of time, but your responses are on our social media platforms. Whenever you hear that riddle, know that it is a photograph. Now, to all the people that are celebrating their birthdays today, happy birthday. We send you a lot of love. We hope you're happy. We hope the new year brings you a lot of prosperity, a lot of happiness, a lot of healing, a lot of so much grace in every single thing that you do. But most importantly, remember to continue growing, continue to learn, relearn, and learn, and be open to the new ideas that you face every single day. I am Sandra Twinobdi. It's been amazing this week. I'll see you later on NTV Weekend Edition later in the evening. Continue watching NTV. Have a lovely